Jacob and Kristen Willis, a husband and wife entrepreneur team, founded We Heart Nutrition with a mission to help men and women access research-backed supplements to live energetic and joyful lives. Dedicated to creating the highest quality supplements, they combine their passion for science with their heart for making a difference. We Heart Nutrition is pro-mama, pro-baby, pro-life, and proudly donates 10% of sales to pregnancy care centers, providing critical support for families facing unplanned pregnancies. Their vision is to promote vibrant health while championing compassion and life-affirming care. Jacob, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited you're here again. We'll miss Kristen this go around, but last time we talked, you were scaling with a really lean team. It was just you and Kristen plus a marketing agency. So I've been super excited to get you back on here and get an update. So I'm sure lots has happened since then. So any major changes worth sharing?
Yeah, definitely. So good to be back. And it's interesting as you grow a business, there's definitely different inflection points where you realize oh, we need to bring on extra help here, or you start realizing those gaps in what you're doing or the things you're dropping the ball on, or you could be doing better. And so we have grown quite a bit since we last talked. And while we've stayed lean as far as bringing people on, we do have a number of agencies in the mix now that help us out. So we do have a marketing agency. We've moved to a different one since we last talked to you, but they handle just ad management. We still keep all creative in-house. My wife really has an eye for that. And so she's really become the creative director, marketing director. And then we have another agency that helps us manage the life cycle of our customers, meaning from the moment they first interact, whether it's through email flows or pop-ups or whatever, basically the customer journey. And so they're helping us stay on top of that, because it definitely got to the point where you start wondering, wait, what emails are going out? I can't remember. We made that email or that flow 2 years ago. Is it still current? When you first start off a business, an e-commerce business, you just try and get stuff live. And so then sometimes you cringe at oh, that's still going out, or that's outdated or whatnot. And so definitely having someone to have eyes on that and that really thrives in that area has been good. And then we also have a subscription agency that really helps us watch our subscription health, helps us work on retention, churn. And so as a heavily subscription business, those type of things can make a big difference. If you can increase your retention, then it can easily pay for itself. And then we've brought on a customer service girl, helps with a lot of about 80% of our customer service needs. I still field a decent amount of them that are a little more founder specific questions.
Yeah.
And then we have a creative designer that Kristen kind of gives ad content to create or videos to chop up and that type of stuff. And so she is actually our first international hire. She's over in Argentina. And so it's been great to bring on talent outside the US, and she's done an amazing job as well. And then we have a couple assistants here and there, and we are in the process of starting a nonprofit. So there's a lot going on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but we've every step of the way, it's fairly evident what needs to be added on. And I have kind of my eyes already on the next agency that we should bring on in the next 4 to 6 months to really help us make sure we're taking the next steps of growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. How have you kind of navigated just what am I taking on personally today that I shouldn't be? And making those next changes, is it this list gets too long, or what's that tipping point for you?
Yeah, it's mostly what am I not thriving in or doing the best job at, and what should I not be doing that is my time would be better allocated elsewhere. And so there's elements of putting a valuation on your time as a founder and saying, if I could hire this for $30 an hour or whatever, it would be better to do that than to spend my time on it. And so probably the most glaring one for me a year ago was customer service. I was still pretty deep into the customer service. And so about 6 months ago, I was planning on bringing on another customer service rep to really help with the volume of needs we had. But before I did that, I wanted to identify what the key needs we were having and try and resolve those first. And so, and as I stepped back and looked at it, the key needs were around inventory. We had a manufacturer that couldn't keep up with our demand. And so we were running into out of stock situations. And then the second one is shipping. So we were at a 3PL in Missouri, and which is central hub of the U.S. packages. It's easy transit from east to west is how it's positioned. The downside is there's so many warehouses there that USPS can't keep up with the demand. And so they would pick up a package from us on Monday and they wouldn't scan it into their system until Thursday. And so
no.
basically customers were seeing label created. They placed an order on Friday evening. They saw label created on Saturday and it was Thursday. And they said, what are you guys doing? You're not giving my order to USPS. And so anyways, identifying that, we have since moved our 3PL to California. And it would seem like that would not be as an efficient of a choice as the Midwest, but in studying all the tracking data, the same day they pick up, they scan it. And if it's going to the East Coast, rather than trying to truck it around, they actually fly it to the East Coast. So we get transit to 3 days in Florida for typically 3 to 4 days for Florida. Whereas from Missouri, it was like 4 to 7 days because depending on like, you had to go through a hub center in Indianapolis and then down in North Carolina and then Florida. And so anyways, we've resolved and we picked up a new manufacturer or got rid of our old one and brought on a new one, which with significantly more capacity. So we don't have inventory issues anymore. And for the most part, our shipping is going way better. So anyways, that dropped probably our needs by like 30%. And then from there, it was figuring out how we can answer questions on the FAQ or on the contact form. And so overall, as I mentioned, I'm still in customer service needs, but they're generally founder related. So I still have our customer service rep flag things for me that she feels I'm better equipped to reply to. And that's usually 15 to 45 minutes a day, which isn't too much of an ask. And then I've found efficiencies in using Superhuman as our email platform has been an amazing thing. And then Whisper is a new basically voice to text.
Whisper Flow, yes.
Yeah, I'm 2 weeks into that one, and I think my efficiency has gone through the roof in replying to emails. It's amazing.
Well, I started using it on my phone and it makes you like go back to the app. It's kind of clunky on your phone.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And then I just started on my computer and my mind is blown. It's insane.
Yeah. Yep.
It's insane. Okay, wait, tell me more about Superhuman though too.
Yeah. Superhuman is Outlook, but as with all, in my opinion, Microsoft applications, they are terrible and haven't been like actually updated in a long time. So Superhuman is what you would hope a Outlook would be. As far as features, for us, snippets was huge. So they're basically pre-written responses that you save. And so if I have a customer that their package is lost, I can hit semicolon and type in lost package and it puts up my entire thing. And I just maybe change a few pieces of information that pertain to their exact shipment. And so it takes me 10 seconds to put together an email. And then you can do reminders. So basically like I could send that email and then say, remind me in 2 days if there's no reply, or remind me in 2 weeks, even if there is a reply. Like, and so from a production standpoint, if I put in a PO with a supplier, like I'll tell it to remind me in 2 days if I didn't hear back, because then I'll get pinged in my inbox and say, I didn't hear back from them. I need to make sure they got it. And so it basically brings in those checks and balances along the way that keep you on top of things. And so you also among a team, I can get an email in my personal inbox and tag my support girl with it. And then she'll be able to reply to it there. So basically it copies it over to her and she can take care of it. And so anyways, I think it's hugely efficient for e-commerce. We tried, I won't name drop. We tried one of the biggest platforms out there for customer service in the e-commerce world. And it was terrible. We could not.
Probably too expensive too for what it's worth.
Yeah, it at a certain size, it definitely wasn't about the cost. It was more about like just the efficient, and like it was some of you using a new platform and learning it. But Superhuman, I think we'd been on it for so long and realized the efficiencies there that I think the using one of the like Shopify customer service platforms really didn't bring us any value.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's fascinating. I'm gonna look up Superhuman because I haven't heard of it yet. That is crazy.
I always tell people, you give it 1 week, like it's a change. And and they do amazing job. Like they do an amazing job coaching you and giving you little lessons along the way and encouraging you, but just stick with it for a week. And I think you'll be in love with it.
Okay. Noted. What about, since I use your supplements, I can say this, but I love your subscription platform on the site, whatever you're using to like well, I get a text, I get an email. It's a subscription. I never miss like the notification that, hey, it's coming up. I have something at home I use that I don't get those notice. I always miss their notices. And then I don't get to change my selection. And it shows up at the house and I'm like, "Ugh, I missed it." I also order from protein from another supplement company that theirs is so clunky. And I'm like, could they just not use whatever We Heart Nutrition is using? Because you guys make it, or else I need you guys to come out with a protein powder or something. Um, but you make it so easy. Is that part of the agency you found, or is that your own built? Like, how did
Mhm.
you guys, and you've had it for a long time. Like, I don't think it's been a
Yeah.
whole lot. It maybe it's changed here and there, but it's always been easy.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like I need to record this little bit of you saying that to save it because that is not everyone's experience. And so if you ask me what
For
my
me, it
top
is.
thing I'm looking to resolve right now is subscription friction. And so we actually just
Huh.
initiated a request to all subscriptions to make sure we can get their SMS. Because what we found
Mm,
is if someone will get an SMS on their phone, they're much less likely to miss it than the 3-day reminder in their email.
yep.
And so we're trying to improve that because every day it's, hey, I didn't realize I had a subscription, I didn't realize it was renewing, I thought I changed it, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so the further we can get ahead of that, we can cut down on the subscription needs. We use Skio, and we were with a
Mm,
big one of, well, Skio just bought by Recharge. We used to be on Recharge, and for the size we were, I couldn't get the customer support that we wanted, which is a
yeah.
common complaint of Recharge. And so we moved over to Skio, and they've been absolutely amazing, and it's been great. And then what you're experiencing is some of the flows we have built in Klaviyo, and just those
Got it.
automations that 3 days before an order goes out. And yeah, we never want it to be a surprise to somebody that they have a subscription. Obviously, people are going to miss that buy box on the checkout screen where they say every
Yeah.
month and not make that change. And so, but we want to catch it before it gets out the door, because if it gets out the door, then we have to pay the return postage and do all that.
Yeah.
It's in
You have
your
to deal
best
with it.
interest to get it ahead of time.
Yep. Yep. I love it. You guys do such a good job. I just am like, okay, people take notes.
Thank
Take
you.
notes. But I do get the SMS, so it makes sense.
Oh, yes, yeah, totally.
Cool. All right. So tell me kind of what's been one of the hardest things you've been in the trenches on over the last few months.
Hmm. So prior to moving my manufacturer and my 3PL, which happened in February of this year, so that was just about 3 months ago, it would have been both of those. I mean, the
Yeah.
manufacturing thing, um, to run out of stock of products, and we did have significant growth, like some months where it was 30% month over month, and
Man.
so it was hard to predict that, but I always overshot, and so it was definitely like it wasn't on my end that the manufacturing wasn't keeping up with speed. It was just a capacity standpoint with the current manufacturer, and so I almost felt like I had a part-time manufacturing job because I was on the phone with them, telling them what order to do stuff in, and working through problems with them that they were having and all that stuff. And so that was a huge headache. And then the 3PL, the shipping was the biggest headache. Right now, I think it's just finding the capacity to do everything that's on our plate each day, in addition to being parents, and that's our top priority, is to invest in our kids. And we have some time every day that we get to take care of whatever's the top things on the plate. And so there's a lot I feel like we could improve on, and I'm very happy with our growth. I'm very thankful for our
Yeah.
growth, and I just know it's that feeling as a founder of like we could be doing it better, and if we do it better and the growth doesn't changes, I'm totally fine with that. Like I'm not
Hmm.
doing it like we have to double this thing in this amount of time. It's just I know it could be done better, and it's my responsibility to make sure it's done as well as I think I'm capable of doing, or can bring someone in to do. And then we can figure out what growth looks like and just know that we're doing our part there. So it really is that overwhelming feeling of feeling like there's always something better that you could be doing better, or that isn't hitting the mark. And so that's part of the nature of being a lean team. And I think we've been really cautious about bringing people on and bringing in extra help, because I never want to bring it in and then not need it. And so we basically wait until it's fairly evident that we could really use the help and the value's there. And but in the meantime, it's a little bit of navigating our way through the dark,
Yeah.
until we get there.
If you've been running your business with a gut feeling that something is off, but you have no idea where to actually look, or maybe you love the work you're doing, but you're constantly tired because of it, this is for you. I want to build you a roadmap. 90 minutes together, we'll review where you stand against the Monarch Method framework and build a plan for exactly what needs to happen to get you there. Within a week, you'll know what's first, what's second, and what can wait. I only have 3 spots open this month, so visit monarch.com/ops-health-check today to sign up and get your roadmap. We'll also link it in the show notes. You're going to open your laptop on Monday morning and actually know what you're doing. You're going to sit down at dinner with your family, and your mind is actually going to stay there. Okay, let's get back to the episode. How are you vetting the people? Like, how are you making sure you've got the right people in the right seats? And you have, a good amount of agencies that you're working with, which can also be a little, I'm sure, touch and go in general and how you're having to manage them. How are you approaching that?
Yeah. So, our first hire was our customer service rep about a year and a half ago. And it was just out of the blue. We knew we needed somebody, and we get them every now and then an email. And I mean, she was previously a Chick-fil-A manager. And I'm like, there you go.
Cool.
Like, that's pretty good credential for someone that would be a great fit for you. And she was like Central Time Zone, which is a great time zone. And so anyways, there are those fits. And so that's been an amazing find for us. We have hired a few friends, which I'm very cautious about doing, but they've been very like guarded. There've been roles that have expectations that it would be obvious to them if they weren't hitting the expectations. And so it was like, it's not like there's not any ambiguity about what we're anticipating. And we're also not they were people that didn't necessarily have crazy experience in what we were asking them to do, but we knew that they had the heart for what we were doing and they could grow into it. And so it kind of went from being like, hey, you're just a general assistant catch-all for Kristen as she needs little things here and there. And that particular person has grown into our affiliate manager. And so we just passed off our whole, which is one of the balls that I was like, we're dropping this left and right. Like, people don't know it, but I know we could be doing it better. And so she's now our dedicated affiliate manager. And she's already written like personalized cards to affiliates for Mother's Day and stuff like that. And so it's like someone that's like dedicated to that will be so helpful for us. And then as agencies, it is, you do have to be careful bringing on agencies because they can overpromise and they can, underpromise the amount of work that you're going to have to do to keep up with it. And so there's definitely like, you get all these Slack channels of all these different agencies, and they each have a few things they need from you immediately. And before long, you're just like, all I'm doing is replying to these agencies. But that's part of, it's essentially you become a manager and you're delegated this work out, but they still need your involvement, which the goal is to equip them so they can do the majority of it on their own. But to be honest, there's definitely a role that we don't want to let go of, which is the oversight, the creative. We are very specific that we're not going to start doing AI images or like chat emails. Like we're not like
not that kind of brand.
Yeah, we are not like, we need to send out 7 emails a week and the call to action needs to be right here and they need to be short form because that's what we're like, we want to do what's true to us, what we'd want to open our inbox and read, because then we can stand behind it. And so it's somewhat of throwing a lot of the like common practices out the window when they say, do you know this would perform better, or we could change this, or if you came in with this angle, and it's like, no, that's not true to us. And we really want to be consistent with what we're putting out there. And so it is like a little bit for us, like pumping the brakes on some of the bigger agencies that they've had success with a big brand, like doing this one thing and just saying, okay, wait, is that the right fit for us or whatnot? And taking their advice and then bringing it internally and discussing it. So managing agencies is definitely a thing. I think it's better than in a lot of ways. Like, I don't think we need a full-time ads manager. Like that's just, I think any ads manager would tell you, like, you don't need someone doing this like 40 hours a week. He might be spending 2 hours a week, but it's having someone that's looking at it, because I don't have the time or the know-how to look at the ad performance and be like, oh, we should allocate more funds over here, or this ad set should get turned off. And so ultimately, I'm paying probably for 2 hours a week. I'm paying a lot of money, but it's ultimately 2 hours a week that I don't have the time or expertise to do.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be done. It's going to be done really well and effectively. And you don't have to think about it. It's going to continue to move. Yeah. You check in with them on a regular basis, but it doesn't need to be on your plate at all.
Yes. Yeah. And you do end up on a lot of video calls. We've had to definitely try and limit our calls and make sure they are really efficient calls. So unfortunately, we don't take a lot of like exploratory calls or a creator that wants to discuss something or that type of stuff. It's just we kind of have to limit the number of calls we're on, or else we'd be on calls 3 hours a day and not get anything else done.
Yeah, yeah, it can add up.
Mm-hmm.
It does add up so, so fast, and your time is valuable. You need that time deep in the work. You also have to manage the business you have that you has been given to you. So
Yeah,
just do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Cool. So what about Kristen in her world these days? She is running a scrappy team. I mean, it sounds like affiliates, you've got some help, which affiliates, that's a whole other bag of worms. That's a lot to carry. But in general, what's working right now just to continue to keep scrappy and to keep running kind of on your own? And or how is she, I guess, kind of managing her time and what she's so good creatively, and all the videos she produces they're so good. How is she kind of managing all of that from a marketing standpoint?
Yeah. And one agency I just realized I didn't even mention is we do have a creative agency, and
Oh,
they come
cool.
out every quarter, and they do a
Nice.
full day shoot with Kristen, and they have Kristen writes video scripts, and so a lot
Sweet.
of the content you're seeing on social or emails are a result of that content session that
Nice.
they do. And she has had to pass off some of the social posting and that type of stuff to that team.
Mhm.
She's very much still involved in proving stuff, but like we just realized her getting on Instagram to post stuff on certain days at certain times was just not going to
So
be
hard.
something that was sustainable. And so that was probably the last thing she thought she'd ever let go of, but it really became evident that it was time to step away from that. And so we're really trying to keep that family feel to the brand, but the truth is it's not sustainable for our family if we really try and be involved in
Right.
every little piece of it. And so she's really doing her best to stay up on, like I said, the Slack messages you get from every agency that says, hey, we need this piece, or we need you to approve this or whatever. And so in the like 3 to 4 hours she has every day to allocate to work, it's really just a scramble of what's the top priority or the highest leverage. And so sometimes you got to let something fall through the cracks. So we an email might not get out,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, that email could have generated $7,000 of income, but honestly, if you could bring this together, this other asset, this ad creative, or this new welcome offer that we're offering, like if you could bring that together, like 7,000 would not be anything in comparison to what that could bring in. And so it's really prioritizing what you have, but also our commitment is to our agencies to get them what they need to perform well. And so there's definitely an
Mhm.
element there of like you need to do your part to get them the assets and everything that they need.
Yep. Yeah. So what are you guys talking to the Lord about in this season of business? Where are you asking for guidance for him to kind of guide the way of what's next, or what you need discernment on currently?
Yeah. I think every step there's we have a reliance on the Lord, and some of what I shared about not falling into those common marketing metrics or like, oh, this performs well, and just being true to ourselves is actually a reliance on God, and a letting go of like the growth and just saying, God,
Mhm.
you're the one. We'll do the labor. We're happy to do the labor, but you're going to bring the growth, and
Yeah.
we're going to create a business that honors you in all that we do. And so it really is constantly bringing, especially as a founder, like it gets so tempting to hear, oh, someone else did this and it brought in this amount, or they changed this thing and their conversion went there, and just really being like, well, it's more about the Lord bringing in the growth and us being true to what we believe honors him. And so there's a lot of just leaning on him constantly for that. And then I feel like the answering of the prayer of the manufacturer and the 3PL, I can't tell. I interviewed like 5 or 6 other manufacturers and nothing just came together.
Man.
And it really, I even looked into like buying my own equipment to start manufacturing. And I just was like, but in every step, it was like, God, I don't want to do it if this isn't the right fit.
Mhm.
And literally the one that worked out was just such an evident blessing from him. And it's been amazing. And they onboarded me quickly, and I could triple my volume with them, and they wouldn't blink an eye. And so that's just such
Wow.
a blessing, because
Yeah.
manufacturing really was the biggest pain point. And so I'm always going to explore every option. And we looked into multiple 3PLs, and I'm going to do my research and then trust that God will guide the path. And that's been true, and he's been faithful in that. And I mentioned we're starting the nonprofit, and that's really been a step to honor him more in how we are choosing who we allocate funds to. And so there's definitely, as we've grown, we give 10% back to pregnancy care centers. And as that donation number has grown every month, we pick one center each month to give to. And as that number has grown, it's become more of a responsibility to feel like, okay, this is a decent amount of money that we're able to give to a center. Like, we obviously want to make sure they're doing amazing work, which, I mean, we haven't come across one that hasn't, but I mean, you definitely want to do your due diligence on that part. But there's also become an element of discovering that rather than a one-time donation, consistent donations over a period of time is more sustainable for them. And so the downside of a one-time donation is if a center gets a large donation and they hire 5 new nurses because now they can afford it, we're not guaranteeing that donation the next year or the following year. And so basically they're putting their chips on the table to say, okay, we're going to hire these people and we hope we can bring in the funding the following years to sustain that. And so what we are aiming to do with our nonprofit is we will still select one center a month to give funds to, but we will allocate those funds over a 5-year period. And so they can have a set donation for 5 years that they know and they can count on. So they can hire one nurse and know we've got this covered for 5 years. And so the nonprofit, we've got an executive director we just brought on for that, who's previously she was an auditor, a CPA auditor of nonprofits. So she's well-versed in a lot of it, and she's been an amazing fit so far. And so we are just giving her kind of the ability to start being the go-to person for these centers to interact with. And we'll have annual check-ins with them and just be more like on top of it when it comes to the donation side and create this sustainable model. Wow. And then as the funds sit and like gain like modest interest or whatever, we're going to start funding a prenatal vitamin for pregnancy care centers to get by grant. And so that we can start, because that is, I mean, they obviously want money, but anytime you say like, oh, prenatal vitamins, their ears perk up, because that is a huge need, whether it's they don't have any, they have really low quality, or Vitamin Angels just remove their grant or whatnot. It's a huge need. And so ideally we can get to the point where we're able to 50, 75,000 prenatal vitamins. We're able to send them out by grant. And so that's kind of the dream that it's all morphed into. And so the funds will still be raised. They'll still be donated to the nonprofit. And then the nonprofit will guarantee those donations over 5 years and then hopefully be able to create a prenatal vitamin for these centers.
That is incredible. You guys amaze me. Your generosity it's so beautiful to just see. And I think that's the way you're structuring this, to think about it. Okay, what are you going to do with this for 5 years? That is what's going to produce sustainability for them in the future and hopefully impact more people, because it's something they can count on. Their communities can count on the amount of hopefully women and families they'll be able to serve, because they know, okay, we're secure in this over the next few years. That's super, super cool.
And we've talked to centers and they do the big gala every year. And we've heard the amount they raise from the gala. And for many centers, this annual donation is the size of running one gala. And so it's like they bring up together this 400-person event, get this big speaker, rent this location, and they net like a nice donation. But like if they could have that without any extra work on their team, like a lot of those centers have someone who's solely in charge of putting together the annual gala. And so you're almost not even covering that person's salary just to put that gala together. And so it really is, feels like the most responsible thing to do for these centers to create this sustainable, and it allows us to support a lot of smaller centers. So for example, in June, we're supporting, I grew up in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. There's a small center there. I mean, they see about 300 women a year. They're doing amazing work. But if we donated it all at once, it would be like almost their annual budget. And so instead we'd say, oh, now you can go ahead and move into that new building because you know you have 5 years of funding to help sustain it, or bring on that new executive director, or whatever it is. And so it really feels like it opens us up to supporting the smaller centers on a long-term basis, which we're super excited about.
Yeah. So cool. Okay. So if someone's listening to this episode today and they run an operation that's small and scrappy, what's the one thing that you think they should be focused on this quarter?
From an operation and small and scrappy, I think for me, that small and scrappy started with sourcing all my own products. And so whether it's the packaging or the raw materials, from a supplement standpoint, there's really two routes you can go. You can allow your manufacturer to source everything, and then they can mark up the ingredients and charge you on that. That's the easiest way to go, but you lose a significant amount of margin on that. And so my desire from the beginning, with the dream of launching our own prenatal vitamin for pregnancy care centers, has been to establish relationships with every ingredient supplier. So they know me by name, I know them by name. And so at some point I can reach out to them and say, hey, we're doing this. Would you consider selling it at cost to the nonprofit or whatever? And so basically establishing those relationships. And my biggest concern with middlemen, whether it's a packaging person, is they don't have necessarily the urgency or the scrappiness of you. And so if you're waiting on one supplier and they say, oh, I'm sorry, it's out of stock, it's going to be 6 weeks. But if you're scrappy, you're going to go find it somewhere else, or you're going to like figure something out. And so for me, it's always been a control thing. I didn't want to not have the ability to know the like exact situation, because not every like middle person would tell you exactly what the situation is causing the delay, and then to be able to go around or mitigate or that or whatnot. And it helps with margin significantly. And so I think if you're just starting out, like being as in control as possible of your supply chain is a great place to start. And then just be very cautious with who you give marketing dollars to, because it's the cost out there for your influencers or your ad agency or whatnot. It can get expensive really quick, and it's really a long-term game. Like I think when I first started this, I remember we did an email marketing blast with a good group, but we paid $7,000 for it. And I just sat at the website that morning, like, okay, I think I'm gonna see $20,000 in sales today. And it was a little drip. It didn't happen. And it's like, now that I know more, I'm like, it actually performed pretty good for what it was. But I was just like, wow, we just threw away $7,000 and we only made $1,800 on this or whatever. And so you just have to be careful, because everyone will ask for your marketing dollars, and you just need to be wise about where you allocate them and have strategy around it, which is kind of the hardest stuff. It can be like you're throwing money different places, and if it all doesn't connect, top of funnel, mid funnel, bottom of funnel, and you're really making strategic decisions, you just end up spending a lot of money.
Yeah. Yep. That's great advice. So where can people find you, Jacob? Where can they find you online, your website, and how can they buy We Heart Nutrition supplements?
Yeah. So we're at weheartnutrition.com, and you can find all of our supplements there. There's a great quiz. If you don't know what you need, you can take about a 30-second quiz, and it'll recommend 4 to 5 products that could be a good fit for you. And we're always available by email. Customer service is huge for us. We've always wanted to be the brand where you have the customer service experience that just makes you say, oh, that you tell others, almost viral about your customer service experience. And so feel free to reach out to us, support at weheartnutrition.com, and we will get back to you right away with any questions or anything that you have.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time. Again, Jacob, you guys are so generous. Always some of the most generous people I know. I made an intro for you, or to you from somebody I know. And when I had told them about you originally, I'm like, these two are wildly generous with their time and their talents. So it's so true. And I'm just gracious that, the Lord's put this in front of you guys, and you're doing such a good job with it. So kudos to both of you. Tell Kristen that I said hi, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney.